What a delightful little romp of a movie. That was just heartwarming.
Well, then you would love War, which I went to go see earlier.
Ooh, boy.
We were at different screenings for it. You got back about 45 minutes before.
Ours was, I think this sums it up best.
Yeah.
There was a chuckle here or there. Stone cold silence.
When it was during or when it was over?
During the movie. Even when it was over. It was just like, I felt that the audience had that that vibe like they got assaulted, and they're just like, like walking away from it.
Was it crowded when you went to go see it?
Yeah, I mean we ended up front.
Oh shit!
Because it's assigned seats, so we were. I want to say the first 2 or 3 rows were pretty empty just because at the cinema we go to, it's one of those like dine-in cinemas, so if you're close, you're really close and nobody wants to sit there, but apart from that, it looked like all the back rows and where we were.
Ours was... I got my tickets about 4 days ago, so at that point, the assigned seating hadn't been really picked out yet, so we got a couple of pretty good seats. I think it was fairly crowded when we saw it. We saw it in one of those theaters where... it's like lazy boy seating, so when you walk when you walk in, it's actually kind of hard to see if there's that many people there. Like when I saw War earlier, until the movie ended, I thought I was the only one in there until a few people came walking from around the corner. But this was, now I got to do, like I said in the video essay thing I did the other day, where I'm like, I got to have the same opinion of this now as I had in my head going into the movie.
Well, the narrative was already set with this film,
right?
And I can say it didn't live up to that hype.
Those kinds of movies usually don't. When there's that kind of
this outrage, and I'm just like, the main targets in this film are rich white males, so I'm like, I feel I was lied to by the outrage machine.
Because they never actually see the movie.
No, I know. I'm like, okay, I don't know. I was very much like, I really thought this was going to have, like, a wider swath of targets,
no, the
considering
movie was...
all of the, like, everybody getting spooked by it, and I'm just like,
The movie... it actually felt like I thought it was going into the movie, which is Todd Phillips definitely doing his homework of that kind of movie from that time period, whether the obvious ones, Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, but...
When somebody was telling me it was set in the 80s, I'm like, if that's the case, it's literally 1980.
It's 82.
It feels late 70s to me, though.
Well, I realize there's bleed
over, but...
Yeah, it's that period of, like, where you had, your stuff like The Exterminator, of course, Taxi Driver, but also things like this movie harkens back to things like Naked Vengeance or Maniac, but later in the end, there's a marquee that had Blowout on it. So that's when I was like, okay, it's like 82.
Yeah, I felt... the production design and everything, I really felt like, this feels like 1977, 78 to me, but whatever. Close enough. It's a fictional kind of city anyway, but I'm like, this feels like 1970s New York a little more to me than like
Death Wish New York.
Yeah, like, because I'm just like, Jesus, this would have been like 2 years they would have filmed Ghostbusters.
They're also touching on things that did kind of happen. There's a lot of what happens in this movie kind of revolves around a vigilante incident that happens on a subway, which is kind of similar to the Bernie Getz thing in the 1980s. Yeah, and the vigilanteism in the...
I feel like it's just touching upon like a little bit of everything. Like
that it feels that like kind of atmosphere.
It feels like this was set in like a 5-year gap. Could be anywhere within this area.
It did a really good job of having a very new Hollywood feel to it, like the Scorsese ones, of course, but also looking at the way Gotham City is in this film of that time period. The movie really feels authentic in a society that gave us movies back then like Death Wish, like Dirty Harry, or movies like that. And we've talked about this before many times, and one thing that I thought this movie did really, really well, even though, it is kind of this sort of gap between late 70s and early 80s and that bleed over, to me, it felt like it was from that time. Like,
no,
you know what I mean?
No, I completely agree, which is why I thought it was really late, because it just had that look to it. But
sure.
And they did it really well. Right down, there were little touches I like the garbage strike, so literally the streets are filled with filth.
Yeah. The porn theaters, of
which
course.
Which is New York to begin with, let's be honest. The weird thing about New York, they leave their garbage out on the sidewalk, because that city doesn't have any back alleys.
Because sometimes you're stumbling through drunk and you just need a snack, but you don't have any money. Well, there's a piece of pizza I could get.
That's why Chicago makes the better Gotham. We have actual back alleys.
Exactly.
And that's where we put our garbage. But
the difference between, like, you know, stumbling around drunk in New York and in Chicago is there are nights where Chicago will feel like a ghost town. When you're walking through...
The Loop is a ghost town.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
The business district.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, it gets... No, that, like... It gets very Gotham-y late at night in Chicago, where you're just like, I don't know if I should be here. It's fine. It's just always some drunk homeless guy. He's like, hey, how about $1? Like,
and I'd be drunk enough to go like, well, I'm going to go ask this guy in an alley what directions to get back. This seems like a great idea when you're shit-faced at 3 a.m. But no, versus looking like this actually is kind of that era versus things we've mentioned that are just kind of like a costume party. Like, bring up the Goldbergs and things like that. Like this. Goldbergs.
No, this feels legit. And I love, I enjoyed their Gotham, which was just New York.
Yeah.
But they did a couple interesting things. I love that opening shot of him putting the makeup on. And you get, like, the exterior. It looks like the Queensboro Bridge or something, but... It almost for a second has that Tim Burton vibe where it's very steel industrial. Like they didn't do much with the effects. They just it's kind of what they did with Chicago and The Dark Knight and Batman Begins, where they just kind of like opened it up a bit, where it's like, oh, it's Chicago, but it just keeps going.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought it looked really cool, and I believed it as a real city.
I did. It felt like a livable city. It felt like a real city. It felt like this is just a snapshot of what it is New York, of what New York kind of was at that particular time period.
That porno central Times Square kind of
42nd Street
before Giuliani moved in.
Yeah, back when it was the Deuce and all that. This movie does a great job of really mimicking that, and also still making a pretty damn good movie. I thought, because I thought
it was good.
Yeah. I did too. I do have some issues with it, but I mean, overall, like, no, the movie's not Taxi Driver and it's not King of Comedy. But the way I kind of looked at it was like, but neither was a movie like Don't Go in the House, and I love Don't Go in the House. And I
think my issue with the film is that it does such a good job of getting mostly there to being great.
Yeah.
That when it kind of just falls back into like, no, we're still a comic book movie, really. That I'm kind of like, that's a shame, because I was feeling like we were really going somewhere, and I'm like, oh, we're just doing this. Okay. Like, I'm satisfied still, but...
When we were talking in the hallway, like I said to you, I was like, I have a feeling we're going to have at least one similar issue. I'll get to it in a second when we get a little bit more spoiler happy.
Damn lights.
The lights actually are clearly what to avoid spoiler talk.
But that's the problem with spoiler talk in this one. There were too many spoilers in this movie, in my opinion.
There kind of is, and a lot of it, like...
It's kind of overwritten.
Yeah, so I was... As this character piece of this guy who's insane and is being completely failed over by the mental health system, as that, of this guy doing what he does in this particular time period, the movie works, and it works... I mean, largely because he's so good at it.
I agree. That was my favorite part of the film was actually the first half, I think.
Yeah.
And then it starts unwinding a bit.
It goes to... It has a couple of reveals, and both of them I saw coming. I don't know if you did. There's one that...
I didn't see him come... The universe was so strange.
Yeah.
In the way it was set up. So there were things where I'm like... That's really weird.
Yeah.
Her reaction to him is really weird. I don't get that. Whatever. This city seems really strange, but when they do those reveals later, I'm like, Well, I guess it makes sense now. But I wasn't really looking for that because I didn't realize it was going to be that kind of movie.
I expected it. It was the second time. It was the second or third time it showed her. And yeah, I was thinking the first couple times it showed her. I was thinking what you were, which I was like, this is moving awfully fast for him being so weird. But then about the third time, I was like, I know what they're going to do here. I was thinking back to who's interacting with certain characters.
Well, my problem was I was hoping it was like my biggest gripe with the film, I think, is I was hoping it was going to be not a carbon copy of King of Comedy or Taxi Driver, but much more in the vein of you don't really know what's real or not. You get to the end of both of those movies and it's just like, did any of this shit happen? Or is it's left kind of open-ended and vague? I thought this was going to go in a similar direction, and I was like, oh, it's going to be super cool. And then when they start answering all of these questions that they had kind of brought up earlier, I was like, oh, don't do that. Oh, no.
I was too.
It's a no from me, dog. Like, don't do that.
A couple times I was thinking that, like, what... I love what happens with the talk show in it. I knew it was going there, like, as the movie was going on. I was like, I know what this is going to lead to. And it did, but it was done effectively. When it got to doing one particular thing, you get used to it after a while. When it got to doing one particular thing that we've, I think, literally seen in every Batman movie or Gotham movie or whatever you want to call it.
Oh, I know what you're talking about because I rolled my eyes and I heard Doug was behind me and I heard him just go, oh.
Please don't do this. Like, why this movie?
Why? There's no this, and that's my other gripe is this movie should have stood on its own.
I agree.
And it falls back into the comic booky type of mentality, and I'm like, you didn't need to do that. You were best off in the first half of this movie. Yeah. You don't need to connect it. You don't need to build your fancy franchise all over again. A lot of people, I think, were kind of interested in this movie because it felt different. It's like, oh, this isn't part of its franchise. It's its own thing. And they're already talking about, like, yeah, maybe it does. It's going to be a Joker, too. And I'm like, ugh.
Or it's just a villain's universe. The next one's a Penguin movie or something like that.
I'm
like,
very curious to see what they do with that.
Same here. Like, I kind of want to see him go.
This might be the first Batman movie I have seen where I'm like, holy shit, this is darker than Batman Returns.
Yeah, honestly, this is probably this is my favorite one since Dark Knight. I'll say that. Like,
totally, I agree.
Yeah, it is. But when 95% of this movie stands on its own, and
when they do that, though,
5%.
it's just, and it's like we were so fucking close.
You didn't have to do this. Why are you doing?
You just know it's studio notes too. Yeah. Somebody at WB went, wait. No, we can't do that. We gotta. What about the chart guys came in? It's like, what about the franchise opportunities? If you look at the chart, it says we can still milk this thing. You gotta put this scene in or else.
And truth be told, it's not even the.
I don't know.
It's not even the. I've seen that scene done worse technically, but in movies I've seen it done worse. It fit better in those movies than it does.
Well, it just starts here. And it starts. You just start asking questions about how then this is going to connect to other things, and like I got so annoyed by that.
I was sort of like, well, I guess we're doing this, but I was still going like, I mean, it's not ruining the movie for me. Like this is a really damn good movie.
It did leave me on like a more sour note than it should have.
Yeah,
you want to leave. It's the opposite of like Rogue One, where I thought the first half was so like, I'm like, oh my god, this might suck, and then like it left on that high note with Vader and everything, where I'm like,
I was fine with that.
All right, yeah. This one was the opposite, where it was like it was so good, like as you said, for large chunks, and then about the last 10 minutes of the movie, I'm just like.
And there's great stuff in that last 10 minutes.
There is, but then it cuts to stupid things.
Yeah.
It grinds the movie to a halt for like 30 seconds. Too. It's like, hey, we need this cutaway. And I'm like, why are you cutting away from all the cool shit?
I didn't even have a problem with early in the movie Thomas Wayne being in it. Like, I didn't have I mean, he's kind of Max Schreck in this a little bit, but like...
I'm a little iffy on that just because, again, I'm like... I was kind of enjoying the movie when it wasn't making that many allusions to Batman. But I'm like, okay, I can kind of deal with that. But
yeah, that's the same boat I was in. Like, I was fine. When he was first mentioned, I was sort of like, I don't know. But then there's some pretty good, like the scene with them in the bathroom. How they kind of worked him in to deal with, like, his mom's psychotic shit.
Well, in the spoiler area, we'll talk about that because that brings up a couple of weird problems. I'm like, I wonder how they're going to work this in sequels now. But
sure.
I mean, overall, like, Joaquin Phoenix's performance is another one where I'm just like, I like 90% of it, but the 30 to 40% of the movie that's just his interpretive dances. The hell was that?
See, I didn't have a problem with that, but here's probably why, because the movie I saw right beforehand was a Bollywood film.
Oh, so you're just like, well, this is just the theme of the day.
Yeah, like, this is just kind of part of the course as far as my day goes.
The movie is kind of full of itself at a number of points, and like that's where it just peaks at full of itself, where he's just like, and now.
I was fine with that. Like, I was really enjoying him in the movie.
The laugh too, like, at first I'm like, oh, it's cool, it's creepy, and about 10 minutes in the movie I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to listen to this laugh for the rest of the movie. I'm like, all right, it's already old.
That was one thing where I was like, I could see it. I could see, like, what you're saying. Like, I was sitting there in the theater going, it's not bothering me because I kind of like how awkward it is and how it's put in some really awkward situations. But I was thinking, like, I could see some people probably having a problem with this. I didn't, personally.
My favorite parts of his performance, that scene where the social welfare lady, like, is like, they're cutting our funding.
Yeah.
Like, we're just doing that glare he has staring at her about how she doesn't listen and this and that, and he brings that glare back again and again. That was my favorite part of his performance, because I'm like, those are the steely eyes of a serial killer.
Those scenes where he's just glaring and shit.
Yeah.
That scene, one of my favorite scenes in it was the part with the two guys in his apartment where he's got and the one dude is trying to leave but can't.
That got such a nervous laughter with the one fake out.
Yeah.
I love that scene, and that's how you know the movie's working, because I was fucking terrified.
Yeah.
Because I'm like one of those characters, I'm like, I like this character. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, where are we gonna go with this? Like you could just, in the theater was stone cold silent. You could just cut the tension with a knife. So I love that. I just, it got a little too drunk on its writing. Particularly it came so close. Like, so I love Dark Knight.
Yeah.
I think we agree that would be our favorite, or our last favorite.
We like
the Burton films, but
89 will always be my favorite.
89 and Batman Returns I love, but Dark Knight's like one of my favorite comic book movies. So my one gripe about that has always been like, Joker in that movie is Nolan builds up. It's like he's a nihilist. He just believes nothing has spread all the chaos. And then at the end, he's like, I'm ranking up the 2 bombs, and it was like, it didn't happen. The city proved good. I'm gonna blow it up anyway. See, this is all to prove a point. And I'm like, what's with all the political statements? I thought you were just in this for the lulz. Like, I thought he was supposed to be like the ultimate troll. And this movie kind of does the same thing, where it looked like, and with Joaquin Phoenix playing it, I'm just like, well, this is going to be amazing, because Phoenix is the ultimate Hollywood troll. Maybe not the ultimate, but he's up there. I mean, there's also Tommy Wiseau and others, but he's up there. And then, like, he's just literally says at one point, he's like, I believe in nothing. And I'm like, cool. Maybe we're going to get what Nolan didn't have the guts to do, and really a pure nihilist. And then at the end, he makes like a kind of political statement. He's like, let me tell you what this is about, with the gun in his hand. I'm like, man. But even still, I said this to Laura as we were leaving, but even still, though, it's not the most awkward talk show appearance Joaquin Phoenix has done. No, I laughed when he came out, because there's that awkward silence, and I'm like, I've seen worse. With Joaquin Phoenix.
Right, yeah. You also throw some clown makeup on Crispin Glover, doing back to back. It's little things like that, that I'm like, for me, this is like a B+ movie, I think. It's like, I wanted it to be like an A+. I'm like,
yeah, just these little things start adding up for me where I'm just like, I think this movie's good, but I'm like, yeah, not quite.
If we're talking about the ending, like, just to bank off of that, like, no, I do recommend this. I really enjoyed seeing it. I love seeing this very seedy-ass adult Joker movie.
Nobody makes these movies anymore.
Yeah.
Like, this type of old Scorsese and this. Part of it is our society's not as gritty anymore. Like, I remember growing up and going to downtown Chicago, even in the mid-'80s.
Yeah.
It's a completely different town than it is now. I know Chicago has this reputation. Oh my God, you gotta get shot. But it's like, it's certain neighborhoods. But I mean, like, downtown is gorgeous. Looks nothing like it did back in the 80s. And New York's the same way. So that look isn't there anymore, at least not in some of these cities. I mean, maybe you could set it in, like, Detroit or some of these other cities. But I don't know, I've been in downtown Detroit, though, and I mean, it looks cool.
We've done, like, cons there and shit. Yeah.
It looks cool. There's abandoned neighborhoods, but the downtown's really cool, so...
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, maybe it's just because that world doesn't exist anymore, so... But I miss that type of movie, and this does a good job of emulating.
It does, because Todd Phillips is definitely a dude who grew up on those movies, too, so he knows what to, like, kind of emulate about them, and, like, what kind of worked in a lot of them, and to make it feel livable, like, and
it felt like a real city.
Yeah.
A real 1970s piece of shit American city.
It did. It really freaking did.
The 70s were gritty as fuck.
With the ending of the movie, spoiler, I don't know how you felt about this, but, like, there was one shot where I'm like, okay, it needs to end on this shot. There's a shot towards where he's standing up on the car, and there's all those people surrounding him in their clown masks and everything.
Honestly, there were 7 of those. Every single time, I'm like, and cut, and it kept going, and then there's like another one. I'm like, and cut, and it kept going, and I don't even remember what the last goddamn shot was. Oh, it was him. Okay, it was him running. Okay,
yeah,
I do remember now. But yeah, I'm like, there was too much of that.
It happened
I agree.
A few times.
It needed. I will say this. The movie doesn't seem to want to paint him as a hero or necessarily somebody to be worshipped outside of within the realm of the film.
Yeah.
If you did end it at that one scene, it really does look like a hero worship thing. Like, look at me. And considering all the quote-unquote controversy surrounding the film, like, I'm not sure that would have been smart. I'm not sure it needed to end there, but it needed one solid cut. Like, if you're not going to end it there, then pick one. But it was like Lord of the Rings sped up.
Kind of.
Like Return of the King, where, like, they did that in 15 minutes. This is like 5 minutes.
It really did.
Like,
and the reason why I say why I picked that particular shot, because where it cuts to after, in, like, the last minute, I was like, okay, this really feels kind of unnecessary. You've jumped ahead quite a bit here. I have a few questions about what led to this right here. It seems like there's maybe a whole other 20 minutes that I would have liked to have seen that kind of led to the last minute of this movie. Because of that is sort of why I'm like, I kind of wish you just ended it on that other moment. Not necessarily... I mean... Mainly because it was just the last moment before that final minute. It
was a cool shot. I think it's a problem, with the second half of the film, is it starts falling under its own weight a bit. Like, it kind of sets all this up, and then it's like, well, now what? I mean, if we're talking spoilers, so spoilers now, like his quote-unquote girlfriend being revealed to be Tyler Durden in real life.
Yeah.
Like... that was one of those things I was like, did we need this?
Not really.
That felt like a very modern Hollywood, like... And then when it started revealing for fact, no, your mom adopted you, and she was crazy and all that, I'm just like... I really was enjoying it much more when you, the audience, just had to figure out, it's like, who's telling the truth?
Yeah.
Is Thomas Wayne a liar? Or is his mom crazy?
Because I could see either one of those being plausible.
I could see either, and I was really enjoying it, where it's like, man... If this is like a old Scorsese, if this is like the movies it's trying to emulate, it's really not going to spoon-feed you the information, and you're just going to have to... And then when it spoon-fed me the information, I'm like, oh, come on.
I know.
Because we were so close, and I'm like... And that's where I feel like the movie kind of, like, tanks itself a little, and like where it becomes not really an A film but like a B plus, where I'm just like, man,
I wish
like,
it stayed on that orderly's face when he sees what's in the file, but the audience doesn't.
I thought they were gonna do that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is so cool. And it like all of the great, really artistic choices that can be made, it stops halfway. So it's like, well, it's artsy. It's artish, but it never goes like a full artistic choice where like we're gonna commit. It's like either Todd Phillips was afraid, the studio was afraid, the writer was afraid, whoever. But it's just like, no, it can't go all the way because it's still a comic book movie. We gotta still have our tropes and this and that. I'm like, that's kind of a shame because I thought it was really feeling like its own thing, and I'm like, oh, we were so close.
And and I'm with you on the girlfriend thing too, where I'm like, because I saw it coming is kind of why I'm like, I don't know if that was really necessary, really. Like, because it was, for me, it wasn't a surprising reveal. Like, I was kind of just, I was glad it happened, I was glad the reveal happened sooner than I thought it would, because really...
If they did it at the end, it just would have been Fight Club.
Yeah,
Only
exactly.
Marla isn't real, it turns out, though.
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly. Like, so I was like, okay, well, they kind of took care of this relatively quickly.
I think my other issue was by bringing Thomas Wayne into it. Now Joaquin Phoenix, he's 45, I think, 46, somewhere in there. By doing it by bringing Thomas Wayne into it, and then young Bruce, and then doing that bullshit at the end, I'm like, so in when does he become Batman? 10, 15 years later? I'm like, this Joker's going to be getting old. Like, he's going to be like the Jack Nicholson Joker.
I kind of chalk that up to... I chalk that up to what I usually do in situations like that, where I was thinking in my head, like, okay, Joaquin Phoenix is about, I guess, like 45, 46, but his character might not be. His character might be like 35, 34.
His character looks like he's already 55 in this movie.
But granted, so did everybody in 1978.
Yeah, I guess. I was like, God, he looks so old in this. And I realized he lost a lot of weight, so he's really like gaunt, and but I'm just like, ugh, this is going to be a geriatric Joker Batman's going to be fighting in this universe. I almost wish maybe a rewrite would have had it where it's like he goes to Bruce and he's like, no, your father was my father. And Bruce is like, who the hell are you? Like, just go away. Like, and Bruce is older. Yeah. Like, maybe not quite Batman yet. Maybe that would work. But it wouldn't matter except for the fact that they're talking about like, oh yeah, I might do a Joker too. Maybe we'll have Batman. And I'm like,
I don't really want that. I don't want that because, hell, I didn't want the origin in this fucking movie either. But
I'll tell you
there
this,
it is.
I wouldn't have minded the Joker too, but I'm not sure I want it with like, oh yeah, it's gonna be Batman, and I'm like, I'd just be interested in watching this character do his thing.
That's not even that big of a thing, because that'd be like if, they're pumping out like, coming up in a couple years is King Kong versus Godzilla. If we've already had 3 of those in the past 15
It would also be
years.
like in King of Comedy. It's like, now prepare for King of Comedy 2, The Revenge of Rupert Pupkin.
Yeah. Like we've already had like plenty of Batman v Joker movies.
I did love like their version of Alfred.
And
I laugh because like, when he, like, grabs Alfred through the gate and is, like, strangling him, I was like, then fast forward to 20 years later, and that's how we lost our first Alfred. Really, sir? I didn't realize I was the 4th. What happened to the other 2? You'll never know.
Cuts to a shot of Michael Goff, and Freeze's serum didn't cure him. one day after Batman and Robin, he's dead.
Him walking into that door at the hospital killed me.
Yeah, same.
And then the scene with the little person. Yeah. And like that fake out he does. Like, it's like, no, I'm just kidding. I'm like, I was never more tense during that scene because I'm like, this character's likable and this movie's going dark enough. I'm like, they might just kill this character off. So I was like, the whole time I was like on the edge of my seat, like, oh shit. Like, you felt like you were that character.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's so small, too, it's something that didn't occur to me until that scene. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is like a horror movie where it's like, it's all working against you. You're, like, super short, and then he has to try to open the door.
To open the chain.
It's so dark. I love that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we missed, but...
Oh, I was enjoying some of the celebrity lookalikes on the talk show. I liked how they had like fictitious celebrities.
They're Ed
on
McMahon lookalike.
Yeah,
I love that.
and they had like a Dr. Ruth type.
Yeah.
On there later on.
I don't know why. As dark as that scene is, when the shots start flying, I lost my shit with Dr. Ruth in the arms of Ed McMahon. Just
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll save you. And they're just hugging each other the whole time as Joker's is wandering around. And I just couldn't stop laughing at that. I'm sure people thought I was like psychotic because of that, but I just kept looking at them going like, all right, now that's comedy.
No, I was laughing at that too. And like that Justin Theroux had a cameo earlier where it looked like he was probably like this kind of Burt Reynolds type who was on there. I was getting some laughs about that. Little things like that were making me want to, like, spend more time as World in this universe.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's both the Achilles heel and saving grace of this film that it tries to... Hello to you, too.
They want to park and talk about Lucy in the Sky.
But, yeah, it's a double-edged sword because what makes the movie... great a lot of times is the fact that it's a Scorsese-type film. It's gritty and it feels real. And other times what does make it entertaining is that it's over the top.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it always blends well together, but the different pieces are interesting to watch. His performance in particular, like, the difference between this and King of Comedy, I was talking to Doug about this because that's one of our favorite movies.
I love King of Comedy.
Rupert Pumpkin is real.
Yeah.
We've all met a Rupert Pumpkin. This character, this Joker character, is not. I equate this with more, he's doing, like, it's the difference between, like, Anthony Hopkins playing Hannibal Lecter and somebody else, like, playing Ted Bundy or something. It's like Hannibal Lecter is a movie monster.
Yeah.
He's not real, he's over the top. You can find him creepy, and it's the same thing with Joaquin Phoenix's performance. Rupert Pumpkin, I mean, it's a different character, he's not a serial killer in that, but he felt way more real to me. And it was about 10 minutes in, I'm just like, okay, I see where we're going. This is just going to be an over-the-top Hollywood character, like monster character. And I thought it was fine, but it definitely shows you where the tone is different, where it's like, we're still in comic book movie mode with this film.
It was like I said to you earlier, where I was like, this is if Travis Bickle was the lead character of the comedy. That's essentially what it
comparison.
Is. Like, but I had a good time at it, so I do recommend the movie. Like, it's a good, like,
Don't expect an action-packed film.
No, not at all. Like, it's
slow. I was kind of surprised. I'm like, all right, the audience is going to have some patience for this. I was fine with it, but I'm just like, people going in like thinking, you know, not even Dark Knight, but it's like, oh, Joker, and like, because the trailer was playing up some of the more actiony moments, it's like, you're going to have a wait.
If you miss movies like the ones we've mentioned, of course, but also like, you know, Maniac, Don't Go in the House, movies like that, this is a good throwback to it. Those movies I like a lot too, and yeah, but I didn't go into this movie thinking it was going to be as good as Taxi Driver, but it's like I said earlier, like, I still like movies like
It depends who you talk to. Like, of course, everything nowadays with the internet outrage drama machine, like, it's either the greatest thing ever or the worst thing ever. So there's some people that I'm like, this is one of the greatest works of art, and this speaks to me. I'm like, you know what, buddy? Good for you. And of course, it's like, how dare you like this movie?
Yeah.
Like
when I did the video the other day and got like a 3-part dissertation on Twitter from someone teaching me comedy. God.
It's like way to prove your point.
Wow.
That's all I can say.
It's like going to a crotchety old person in 1956 and asking them their thoughts on rock and roll.
I did love that. I think there was one reply to that was something like, you must be a blast at parties.
God, bummer at a funeral. Jesus. It did give me a good laugh, though. I don't think what they intended.
That's why I don't know, the whole outrage machine right now drives me nuts, because I'm like, it also overhypes movies.
It does.
And maybe that was working. And I try so desperately to avoid all of this. Like with Captain Marvel, I was fairly successful because people were telling me after the fact, that was like, Rob, you can't review it because you're a white male, like making fun of Brie Larson or something. And I'm like, I don't give two shits what the hell Brie Larson
Same.
said. I don't care what Todd Phillips said
Yeah.
or Joaquin Phoenix.
Same.
I care a little more about Todd Phillips because he's the director, but the actors, I don't care.
I don't
Like,
even care really with the like. We've said this before. It's like it's not my job to give a shit about what they say.
No,
Like,
our only job is it a good movie or
Yeah.
not? So, but this one I couldn't avoid it. It was just freaking. It was all over my news feed.
and you're not
yeah.
even on Twitter.
No, like I just it's I read news on my phone, so
yeah.
it's just why the Joker is problematic, and then it just kept going on and on. I'm like, so then I'm just like, all right, and I click the bait, and I'm like, so maybe it got a little overhyped because I'm like, wow, this is either going to be the best thing ever, or the worst thing ever, and I'm like,
I never take
that's good
because it's usually it's 8 times out of 10 it's someone who hasn't seen the movie, and for the 2 who has, they've already written this review before they saw it.
And that's what kills me. Like the defense for it and against it were so like extreme that I'm like,
Yeah.
well, this better be really, really good or really, really bad. And I was like, oh man,
It's good. Like
it's good. Like it is good. So
if we're talking about polarizing movies recently, for reasons like that, this is one of the better ones. Like this is better.
Oh hell yeah!
This is better than Ghostbusters. Like I realize the 2 movies are not at all the same, other than like people arguing about them online.
Ghostbusters, Captain Marvel, any of those. I thought this was way better.
Yeah, I did. And
it still had problems, but like it was a much better put together film.
no, totally. So yeah, go check
I'd
it
see
out.
it. Yeah.
I don't regret seeing it. I had a good time at it.
It's not a happy movie.
No,
just go into
no.
that. If you're thinking, Joker, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be like Heath Ledger's. I'm like, the only thing that's like Heath Ledger's, I think, is like when Heath Ledger burned the money pile.
Yeah.
That's pretty close to the tone of this film.
There's going to be the one guy who thinks it's going to be Jared Leto.
Oh, God. I was just like, it occurred to me, I'm just like, man, we've been so lucky because every Joker has brought their own interpretation, been amazing, and then all of a sudden I was like, except for Jared Leto.
Did you get the Birds of Prey trailer? Where at the beginning,
God.
At the beginning of Birds of Prey, when she's like, me and Mr. J broke up. I'm sitting there like, well, I guess that explains Jared Leto.
Thank Christ. No, I don't know. My wife already is not enthused about that movie, and that should be
Birds
right
of
up her
Prey.
alley. Yeah, I'm like, well, I thought Margot Robbie did a great Harley Quinn.
So did I.
But this trailer is not giving me. For one thing, I was like, I thought Birds of Prey, there were other characters. I'm like, is this just a Harley Quinn movie? Even the subtitle was some gobbledygook about the something Harley Quinn does things.
This
like,
isn't Batgirl. 'Cause I remember there was that TV show in the early 2000s, but I mean, I think that was a pretty loose adaptation.
It was
but like
all Harley Quinn in the trailer, and I wasn't getting any laughs, so I'm hopeful it's still good because DC's.
Yeah.
I think this movie's really solid. So I mean, DC's been on a roll lately.
No, they have.
So don't fuck that one up because I like Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
I want to see Birds of Prey. I want to forget Jared Leto ever existed as the Joker. So it's like this could be good, but that trailer was not giving me much confidence. I was like, But
I saw the trailer and was like, I didn't really have. I think one word. Granted, I was pretty tired, but I was kind of thinking like that might be. I'm optimistic about it because, kind of like you said, they really have been on a roll lately. So I really am kind of optimistic about it, regardless of
hoping
the trailer. Really, yeah.
I'm happy too that they're on a roll.
Yeah, Shazam.
I want an alternative to Marvel because
Yeah.
I'm finally getting Marvel burnout.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Endgame a lot, but there's a part of me that is like, now that Endgame's done, I'm like, I'm good for a little while.
I want to see what DC's doing.
Yeah, I want to see what
between the
DC's
Joker and Shazam. I liked a lot. I really liked Aquaman.
Yeah, and I like the fact that they're not super big. They tried with Justice League, and then that didn't work. So they're just doing their own thing right now. It's like, yes, Marvel can do their cinematic universe, and with DC, I'm just like, just make good movies.
Yeah.
I kind of, and then like that's what I loved about this movie. It's like it was just its own good movie.
Yeah.
With its own universe. I'm like, I don't care how it connects to the rest of the Batman universe. When it did that, by spoiler alert again, showing Bruce Wayne's parents getting shot by some rando clown that I guess the Joker was responsible. I thought for a second Joker was just going to do it. And I'm like, you know what? You may as well connect it to the Burton universe. I honestly was kind of disappointed. I thought if you're going to do that and show it, that would have made more sense to me.
See you around, kid.
Why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Like, he hates Thomas Wayne, and I'm like, and if he's got a mask on or something, Bruce would know who he is. But that was the other thing. The guy had a mask on, like, which isn't really canon, so I'm like, just putting that in there I thought was a mistake.
I did too. Yeah, that was.
And it cuts away from the cool riot scene to do it. I'm like,
yeah, it did.
And there's not a lot of action in this movie overall. So you just cut away from the one action-packed moment to have some guy be like, "Hey, Wayne, yeah, you got it coming, man." Wayne.
I'm sitting there like, I guess that was Joe
Bruce,
Chill.
And then, okay, so that was the other thing. I thought the kid who played Bruce was fine, but the director had to do something like, "Hey, you want to have a reaction, Bruce kid? Like, anything?" He just sat there like, huh. Like, he was almost nonplussed by it. It was like,
yeah.
I just remember in, like, Burton's Batman, that kid looking up just like, oh, shit. Like, and this kid just, like, he gets blood splattered on his face. He's like,
let's go, Jack!
He looked like that dog meme where it's just the dog going like, really? Like, this day just gets better and better. And the movie sucked too. I don't know.
Well, I imagine there'll be a lot of comments about this.
We'll see.
Yeah. Well,
I'll see. I'll be interested if people either love it or hate it, or if they're just in the middle. I mean, I liked it. If I'm in the middle, it's way more skewed towards like.
We both liked it, so I honestly don't think the comments will be that negative.
It's definitely like it's a B movie, few problems, but like I was entertained, and the first half in particular, I couldn't take my goddamn eyes off the movie. I'm like, this looks gorgeous.
I would check it out again. I honestly would. I mean, I don't really rewatch a lot of stuff in theaters, but it's one that
I would definitely get it on Blu-ray. I think
Laura liked it.
It is an exhausting film. I don't know if I will. With so many things coming out still, I'm just like,
I don't get a chance to rewatch that much stuff anyway. Like, usually when I say that about a newer movie, it's always like theoretical. Whenever I rewatch stuff now, it's just when they're re-releasing something in theaters. Like later on this month
they're re-releasing Ghostbusters.
Yeah, they're Ghostbusters this weekend and
Evil
Fright
Dead.
Night. Evil Dead, they are. Yeah.
Yeah, there were a few of them I saw. I'm like, all right, I might have to check those out.
Yeah, we missed Hello Dolly.
Oh no.
I kind of wanted to. Maybe it holds up.
You and Matt can go see that one.
Yes. Hell yeah.
I didn't even like Joaquin Phoenix's interpretive dance. You're not going to drag me to Hello Dolly. Ain't happening. I'm not a huge musical guy to begin with.
Oh, it'll be me and Matt.
There's a few I really love and really love hardcore, but like overall, like a lot of your generic musicals, I'm like, ugh.
I think I'll be going down to making a trip to Springfield in December so Sarah and I can see Cats. I mean, you're more than welcome to come along.
I don't like the regular Cats musical. I don't like the original, let alone this horror show they're trying to throw on the big screen. Cats for me has like 3 good songs in the whole thing, like,
and that shot from the critic. And nothing of value was lost. I'll be back tomorrow with a couple stuff to see it on my own. Like, Judy is out. Something called El Coyote that I just found out about earlier. I don't know.
El Coyote.
I don't know. I kind of like walking into stuff just cold. Like when I'll talk about War tomorrow too. Like when I saw War earlier, just walked into it cold, and boy, if it's anything like that, I'm in for a treat.
I might have to show up to more of those because,
dude,
the theater near us, like I swear, every other week has a Bollywood movie.
There's like 5 of them playing over at the one that I saw.
At the other one? Okay. Yeah, the one we normally go to closer to us, that one, I swear every 2 weeks there's like a Bollywood film. And like sometimes I'll just look at the poster and be like, I have to know.
This War, I can't wait to talk about War tomorrow. Like this is one of those things, they would show in Springfield sometimes, but I would never really have time to go see them because they're usually pretty long. Today, with Laura being at work, I just had a lot of time to kill, so I'm like, I'll go check this movie War out in the theater, and boy, am I glad I did.
Damn.
Holy crap. I'll talk about that tomorrow night, though. So tune in then. See you guys later.
Have fun, guys.